Hello, and welcome to the second installment of Bean Steamers. Now, as we said last week, we're going to be dealing with customer service and tech support, and this installment is so big that we're going to actually break it down into 2 weeks. So, customer service and tech support, or we may subtitle it, What's the Weather Like in Mumbai Today? Disclaimer number one. Don't anyone even think for a second that I'm slamming people of Indian descent here. What I'm slamming is customer service and tech support people that you can't understand, no matter what language they speak. If a company in India had its customer service and tech support in Stockholm, Sweden, they would be saying the same thing in Mumbai that I'm saying here. Can you imagine customer service and tech support for India that would be speaking Hindi with a Swedish accent? It's the same thing. They wouldn't be able to understand what the customer service and tech support was telling them. So there. Declaration number one. These accounts that you are about to read are 100% true. None of the details that follow are false or exaggerated, except for a little speculation about a back room in Mumbai later on in the installment. These stories are real bean steamers. I had the same satellite television service for at least 20 years. I would love to know what percentage of their subscribers have been with them for 20 years or more with nonstop, continual service. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it was less than 1%. Now, good taste prohibits me mentioning their name, but there aren't many satellite television companies out there, only two that I can think of. This is the bigger one we're talking about. It's one word, starts with a D, and is ended with TV. Now, my trouble started when I went out and bought one of these Gigandamuno flat screen televisions. It had all the bells and whistles, everything on it that was really cool for the time, and that was years ago. And although it still gets an excellent picture, I have no intention of replacing it. If I were to put it in a garage sale, somebody might offer me $100 for it, and they'd use it as a boat anchor. In fact, on second thought, maybe I should replace it. I could get a brand new one that's a much bigger screen with the latest technology for about $800 less than I paid for the one I have. But trust me, just a few years ago, this TV was the cat's pajamas. But even cats get old and pajamas go threadbare and wear out. So when I bought it, I had to contact my satellite company and upgrade to an HD service with a fancy pants DVR tossed in for good measure. Since I was upgrading, which meant more of my dough in their pockets, they were eager to install the latest and greatest stuff at my humble domicile. In 2 days' time, I was watching a crystal clear picture, loading up all the DVRs with the kind of programming that I hadn't even cared about before. Now, one fateful morning, about a week later, I turned on the Gigandamundo television and witnessed a screen with words plastered across it that brought instant depression to my soul. There in the top left-hand corner of the dark screen were the two worst words in the world, words that froze me with fear. No service. Now, after I composed myself, bringing my psyche back from the edge of extinction and convincing myself in my mind that life was still worth living, I got to thinking about this major setback and trying to figure out what happened. Now, it should be noted at this point that I never turned the satellite box off. I only turned the television off and on. Always done it that way. The satellite box had worked fine 4 hours ago. I know I should get more sleep, but it hadn't been touched since. What was wrong? I know what to do, I said in my newly recovered and yet still reeling, shocked, and feeble mind. I'll call tech support. That's when all the trouble started. I learned very quickly that these tech support people who were 8,000 miles away on the coast of West India were at best working from a script. They had more than likely rehearsed the steps of what they were to say 100, 1,000 times, which probably should have made their English more intelligible. However, not only were they difficult to understand, but you could hardly hear them. More than likely, their headset microphone was too far away from their mouth, and this caused you to strain to decipher the broken English that was being spoken. I've always felt that making you strain to hear was part of the plan, an integral part of their training. You get extremely frustrated very quickly when you can't hear what the other person is saying, despite begging them to speak louder. Sometimes you'll agree to something that you don't even want to do just to end the call. Another thing was evident about this tech support group, and that was they were apparently in some type of boiler room sweatshop location with hundreds of people all speaking at the same time, creating an undercurrent kind of buzz that complicated the hearing and deciphering process even more. "Good morning," they said, probably looking down at my call location, which was from the Eastern Standard Time Zone in the good old US of A. They quickly had to subtract 9.5 hours from their local time. It was 7:30 p.m. in Mumbai, therefore it was 10 a.m. in the Eastern Standard Time Zone. Thank you for being a insert name here, satellite TV subscriber. How can I help you today? Well, I said, you can tell me why my satellite box is showing a no service message when it worked fine 5 hours ago. The sad part of this was that I expected a direct answer that would miraculously restore my newfound HD program with the fancy pants VCR, DVR, and that's when I got the first step of the script. Unplug the power to your satellite box from the back of the unit, count to 30, and plug it back in, they said. This will make everything work. I will stay on the line while you do that. I did what I was told, and the floodgates opened up with a beautiful HD picture. I thanked him for his help, and my call, which had spanned almost 3 continents, was ended. What I didn't tell you about this was that from the time I was greeted with a lackluster good morning from my newfound nameless friend who was 8,000 miles away until the moment I hung up was over 40 minutes. The first 20 minutes was spent pleading with him to put his headset microphone closer to his mouth and speak up, and then repeat each phrase several times until I finally understood it. The last 20 minutes was spent waiting for the satellite box to rebuild the menus and programming. It should be noticed that every once in a while I have to reset my wireless router, which is a process known as burping, and I do this all the time. I unplug it, I count to 30, and I plug it back in. Within a minute or so, everything is fine, and it stays fine for 5 or 6 months. Such was not the case with the satellite box. Every time you cut the power to it, it has to start rebuilding all over again, a 20-minute process that you don't want to have to deal with more than once every couple of years. After a harrowing morning of dealing with the almost indescribable depression of not having a functional TV, I found the strength to put it behind me and went on with my day. However, I was afraid to turn the TV off for fear that it would happen again. What if burping the satellite box didn't fix it the next time? What if some sinister plot was being hatched against me to rob me of all my pleasure watching my old movies and 1960 television shows, which aren't in HD anyway? Dark forces could be at work here. If everything went south again, I could miss hours of the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show. Finally, at 3 a.m. the next morning, I'm a night person, I once again shut off the television, leaving the satellite box on. I went to bed knowing that tomorrow was another day. Imagine my horror when the next morning I turned on the TV and I saw in the upper left-hand corner the words I so dreaded, "No service." Now I was mad. Another call to Mumbai, more pleading to speak louder, and the nameless voice telling me to unplug the box and count to 30. I knew the drill. "No, man," I said in a really firm voice. "We are way beyond that." Well, that led me to getting to part 2 of the script that they had rehearsed 100 times, 1,000 times. "Sir," they said, I don't know what brand of television you have here, but are you aware that many of the new TVs take at least 10 minutes to warm up and present a picture to you? What? I thought I had heard it all. Who did he think he was talking to? Some buffoon bumpkin over in the States that had just fallen off the back of a taco truck? 10 minutes to warm up? I don't think so, Scooter, but I decided to play along. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. 10 minutes, huh? Yes, sir. Sometimes even as much as a half an hour. Okay, I'll wait for a while and call you back if it doesn't come on. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I hung up the phone, again breaking the line of quasi-assured tech support that went across several oceans. I thought how this poor guy must be laughing, a laugh I could almost hear from 8,000 miles away, with all his tech support buddies in some sweatshop that was 114 degrees inside, all laughing over the dumb American that bought part two of the script. 20 minutes later, I had a beautiful HD picture after once again burping the satellite box. I left the TV on for 3 days, only turning the volume down at night to sleep. Finally, on the fourth day, I turned it off, thinking that maybe I had somehow shocked some sense into the circuitry by leaving it on for 72 hours straight. The next morning, I turned it on, and it worked, and it continued to work for 3 weeks, 504 hours to be precise. Then I saw the two words that I had come to hate firmly ensconced in the upper left-hand corner of the screen: no service. Tech support. Good morning, sir. How can I help you today? Me. You can help me by sending a technician to my house to fix this system. Tech support. Yes, sir. However, there will be a fee associated with that. Me. A fee? It's your equipment. Tech support. Yes, sir, but you may have abused it. The fee is $49. Me. So when the tech comes to my house and sees that the equipment isn't abused, do I get my money back? Tech support. No, sir. Me. Are you telling me that a technician won't come to my house unless I fork over $49? Tech support. I'm not familiar with the term fork over, but if you mean that you must pay $49, yes, sir, you must. Unless, of course, you sign up for an equipment insurance policy, which is $4.99 a month for 12 months minimum, and the technician will come out as often as you need him with no extra charge. Wait a minute, I thought. They want me to pay $4.99 a month for an insurance policy on their equipment? That's almost $60 a year. But the way things are going, I might have to have him back for a second time. At $50 a pop, I'd be $40 ahead if I take the insurance and then he comes for a second visit. This scam was so deceptively simple that I had to give him a bit of credit for coming up with it in the first place. Okay, I'll take the insurance. When can the tech come out? An appointment was set for the following Tuesday with an 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. window, which meant that I would have to get up early. As I hung up, I swear I heard the uncontrolled laughing from a half a world away. That Saturday, the TV came to life and worked fine. So good, in fact, that I called Mumbai and canceled the tech visit the coming Tuesday. I had turned the television on and off multiple times, and everything was fine. Of course, I was still obligated to the $4.99 a month insurance policy for 12 months. But who cared? I figured it was a small price to pay for stable mental health. As time marched on over the months with relentless fervor, I came up with a theory, a plot so insidious that only a few demented souls could even grasp the evil of this nefarious plan. Maybe a former Nazi SS guard or a politician. That's about it. What if someone, just supposing for a second, what if someone who is employed by this satellite provider was sitting in the sweltering heat of a Mumbai back room with a bank of toggle switches, and for each switch he flipped, it knocked out the satellite service to, say, 5,000 subscribers? After the phone lines lit up in a tech support sweatshop and scores of people committed to $50 for each tech service call or a $5 per month insurance scam policy, they waited for a few days and flipped the switch, restoring service to unsuspecting masses. Then the guy in the back room, in between swatting flies, flips another switch and lights up a phone bank, and it starts all over again. A truly malevolent plan, like the world had never seen nor will see again. Then, out of the blue, like a rattlesnake in tall grass, waiting for some poor unsuspecting idiot, me, to step into its path and get injected with a fatal dose of venom, the Gigandamundo TV struck out like a coiled serpent and bit me. In the top left corner were the words, "No service." It was then that I put my plan to work and dialed the evil sweatshop halfway around the world. Then, good morning. Thank you for being a insert name here, satellite TV subscriber. How can I help you today? Me. You can help me by flipping the switch. Them. Excuse me, sir, I don't understand what flipping the switch means. Me. Nor do I expect you to. It's above your pay grade. Just do me a favor, go to your supervisor, and tell him that a guy in the Eastern Standard Time Zone told you to tell him to flip the switch. Will you do that for me? Yes, sir. Is there anything else I can help you with this morning? No. Just flip the switch. After I hung up the phone, I envisioned a scenario that went something like this. And this is the part of the story that is speculation. Tech support guy went to his supervisor's office and told him that there was some nutcase over in the States that told him to tell his supervisor that he needed to flip the switch. Can you believe that? What a nut job, he says. The supervisor says, "Forget that you ever heard that, Jenkins." Now, I always use the name Jenkins because it's a great last name for somebody who is always on the edge of disaster. Forget you ever heard that, Jenkins. Go back to your cubicle and never speak to anyone about this. El understando? As Jenkins goes back to his modest cubicle in the sweatshop, the supervisor looks around with his squinty little eyes, making sure that no one below his pay grade is watching. He pulls back a curtain that reveals a combination lock door. After pushing the proper sequence of numbers, the door opens and the supervisor steps into the darkness of a secret room with a single light bulb filled with thousands of switches. The supervisor walks over and flips a little switch where underneath it says Eastern Standard Time Zone. Now, this is where the conjecture, the speculation ends. All I know is it's been 15 years and I've never seen the words "no service" in the top left-hand corner of my TV since that day. The guy in the secret room must have flipped the switch and put a piece of red tape on it so he never accidentally flips that switch again, incurring the wrath of a guy, me, in the Eastern Standard Time Zone of the USA with an itchy trigger finger poised and ready to dial Mumbai. So there. Well, that will conclude part one of our installment on tech support and customer service. We're going to pick it up next week with more things that really happened to me. Stories that are true, a little conjecture, a little speculation put in there, but it's all 100% true. So thank you for watching. If you like this channel, please subscribe, hit the little bell for notifications, and you'll be notified when a new segment comes up, which we're shooting for every Friday morning. So thank you again for watching. We'll see you next week.